Eita, daar. Welcome to the mplyLebo Leadership Podcast, the space where we exist and endeavor to activate and raise impactful leaders everywhere, one person at a time. I'm your host, Lebo, and today we're diving into a topic that is reshaping the way leaders show up in the workplace and beyond. We're talking about conscious leadership. What does it mean to be a conscious leader? How does it differ from traditional leadership approaches? And why is it essential in today's fast-changing world? Well, stick around because we are about to unpack this concept in a way that will transform the way you lead. So, let's get straight into it. What is conscious leadership? Conscious leadership is about leading with self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a deep sense of responsibility, not just to your organization's success, but to the people, culture, and impact you create. Well, traditional leadership often focuses on performance, results, and authority. On the other hand, conscious leadership goes much deeper. It asks questions like, who am I as a leader? How do my thoughts, emotions, and behaviors affect those around me? Am I leading from a place of awareness or from a place of unconscious patterns and biases? Conscious leaders don't just react to situations. They respond intentionally. They create environments where people feel valued, heard, and empowered. And that in turn drives innovation, loyalty, and long-term success. What are some of the core principles of conscious leadership as we unpack this further? So let's break it down into basically 4 steps or 4 key principles, if you will, of conscious leadership. Number 1, self-awareness. In this, if you are a follower of the mplyLebo Leadership Podcast, you will know we speak a lot about self-awareness because we believe it's a very critical element of what makes an effective leader. For the context of today, as we talk about conscious leadership, the foundation of conscious leadership is self-awareness. You cannot lead others effectively if you don't first understand yourself. This means recognizing your strengths, weaknesses, triggers, and blind spots. Ask yourself these couple of questions. How do I typically react under pressure? What values drive my decisions? And thirdly, am I aware of my biases and assumptions? These are very critical questions to ask yourself as you begin the journey of self-awareness and just unlocking your true self in the context of leadership. A conscious leader consistently reflects on these questions and seeks feedback in order to grow. Number 2, the second principle I'd like us to quickly unpack is presence and mindfulness. In the last couple of years, you would have heard this quite a bit in many different platforms and contexts. In our context today, as we unpack it, we got to consider that, in the fast-paced world that we live and operate in, many leaders operate on, unfortunately, autopilot, rushing from one meeting to the next, making decisions out of habit rather than intention. Conscious leaders, on the other hand, practice mindfulness. They are fully present in conversations. They listen actively, and they create space for meaningful dialogue. A simple way to practice this, is as follows. Before stepping into a meeting, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I truly present or am I distracted? Being intentional in your interactions will elevate your leadership. The third principle, as we unpack self-awareness, is as follows. responsibility over blame. Responsibility over blame. In other words, take accountability, right? Extreme ownership or extreme accountability. Many leaders fall into the trap, of blame, and blaming employees, circumstances, or external factors, for setbacks. Conscious leaders, on the other hand, take ownership. They ask, what role did I play in this situation? How can I create solutions instead of excuses? I have one of my own favorite quotes by yours truly that I think sometimes my own team gets a little bit annoyed with me when I say it, is excuses and excellence can never share a vessel. You are either full of excuses or you are full of excellence, never both. Taking responsibility fosters trust and encourages a culture of ownership and accountability within teams. The fourth principle that I'd like to share with you today is leadership is a service. Leadership is a service. At its core, conscious leadership is about service. It's about shifting from what can I gain to how can I serve. The best leaders focus on empowering their people. They create environments where individuals can thrive, grow, and contribute meaningfully. A great example, is as follows. Companies with leaders who prioritize people over profits often find that profits naturally follow. When people feel valued, they perform at their best. Now, as we begin to wrap up today, I want to talk about why conscious leadership matters, in today's world, just for the next 2 minutes. Why is this shift towards conscious leadership so important in today's world? First, workplaces are changing. Employees, especially younger generations, are seeking purpose, authenticity, and emotional intelligence in their leaders. Secondly, mental health matters. Leaders who lack self-awareness often create toxic work environments. Conscious leadership fosters psychological safety. Third, sustainable success. Companies that prioritize conscious leadership see lower turnover, that is in employees, higher engagement, and stronger long-term performance. So, it is clear that being a conscious leader isn't just a nice to have, right? It is a must-have in today's leadership landscape. So friends, you may ask then, as we, draw to a close in today's conversation, how do I then begin to embrace conscious leadership in my own journey? If you're wondering, where do I start? Here are 3 quick but very practical steps that you can take today to kick off this journey. Number 1, schedule reflection time. This is probably one of my favorite steps because I regard myself to be a serial reflector. I take time intentionally to reflect on the conversations I've had in the day, the conversations, I've had even the previous week, and I'm like, why did I say that? I almost have an out-of-body experience and look at myself from the outside in terms of how I showed up, and I say, what impact did the way I showed up in that engagement have on the other person? And that allows me to grow out of it, see my mistakes, go back and correct, and become better and better every day. And that's a journey of continuous growth. So back to the point of scheduling reflection time. Set aside 10 to 15 minutes daily, 10 to 15 minutes to assess your leadership, right? Journaling, write down, meditate, or simply sitting in silence can help you gain clarity. Second, seek honest feedback. This is a bit of a scary one for many leaders because it's difficult to hear, particularly from the people that you lead, constructive feedback coming your way. But tell you what, it is absolutely necessary and it will jumpstart your leadership to the next dimension. Not only will it do that, it will make you a relatable, trustworthy leader, because it takes humility, firstly, to seek feedback and to accept it and work on it and let it better yourself. Because the best people that can help you lead effectively are the ones that you actually are leading right now. So ask your team for feedback on your leadership style. The key here is to listen without defensiveness. Third and last, but certainly not least, lead with intention. Before making decisions, ask the following questions. Am I acting from awareness, or am I reacting out of habit? Small, consistent shifts in how you lead can create a massive impact over time. So friends, in closing, conscious leadership isn't about being perfect. It isn't about being, a person that never ever makes mistakes. It's about being intentional, self-aware, and committed to growth. So as you step into your leadership role today, ask yourself this question once again. Am I leading consciously, or am I operating on autopilot? The answer to that question will determine the kind of leader you become. Thank you for tuning in to the mplyLebo Leadership Podcast. If you found value in this episode, share it with your team or a fellow leader who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on leadership that truly makes a difference. Until next time, lead with awareness, lead with purpose, and lead with heart. Eita, daar.